Good evening and welcome along to the home of British motorsport for the moment you've been waiting for, the Season 26 league placements for PSGL. There have been gruelling time trials and plenty of evaluation races, but tonight is the night we find out which drivers are in what leagues. ItsAlimonda once again bringing you all the action, and I'm alongside two drivers who between them have 10 F1 championships. No, not Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel. It is in fact BigC and IrunF1. Welcome my friends to this extravaganza, and are you looking forward to all the action we're about to see right here tonight?
Yeah, good evening everyone and thanks for joining us. It's a big night for PSGL. We've got the placement streams. Firstly, thanks to everyone for joining us and also for Alimonda for putting this stream on for us all, and hopefully you enjoy the night's action. And thankfully I'm joined by my good friend and my right-hand man over the years, IrunF1.
BigC and Mark, honestly, I'm licking me lips. I can't wait to see, what's going to happen tonight. Yeah, a lot of talent, a lot of sign-ups. Anything can happen, BigC, honestly.
Yeah, anything can happen in all those hours of TT practice, evaluation races, those discussions among the admins and directors to put people into leagues have been so long. But tonight is finally the night, Mark, which we finally reveal these placements ahead of season 26.
Yeah, we certainly do. It's always a very exciting time, especially after all the hard work that's gone into just to try and learn the game. I mean, we're still waiting on a few fixes for some of the issues, but that's not too rare. Now, of course, we've already had one grid revealed, so we'll go through that shortly. But in terms of the growth of PSGL, BigC, I mean, I joined this particular community back in F1 2016, which was a long time after it actually began, because this is, in fact, one of the oldest F1 racing communities on PlayStation. And, just to see the amount of tiers we've got now, the amount of drivers, the amount of interest that the league has now, it must be incredible, the sheer growth that PSGL's had and its longevity, because, a lot of leagues that started around the time PSGL, they're no longer with us, or were swallowed up by some of the leagues we see today.
Yeah, I mean, just quickly, there's been a few comments about my volume being a little bit too loud, so I don't know if you want to look at that. But yeah, I think the growth of PSGL it's been crazy over the last 12 months. Certainly, I think it changed in the last season where we had obviously the F1 esports driver Jarno Otmay join the league and race, become the F1 champion. So I think that's elevated the profile. Also, I think we've been more open to the esports, let's say, market with Brutal Democracy, running our own esports events, getting some of the bigger teams like S2V, CRG, etc. involved. So I think nowadays we're a bit more open, we're a bit more inclusive in that regard. So I think we're a modern league. We've adapted to the times by running a no assist top tier and things like that. So I think in the past maybe we were a little bit too I think in the past maybe we focused a bit too much on the community, whereas now I'm certainly pushing to be the best and obviously appealing to more sweaty guys and also let's say the more casuals in the lower leagues who just want to race after work or enjoy it a bit more.
Well, go on, Aaron. Sorry.
I was just wondering because I know BigC, you in particular, you put in a lot of effort in terms of structuring the league, in terms of putting in a lot of time as well. Just describe the stresses that it takes you to do your job, because from what I was reading the other night, BigC, you were up until 5 a.m. getting the placements finalised. Is it insurmountable for you?
I mean, there's a lot of time and commitment involved. I think if I had a full-time 40 hours a week working, let's say, a normal conventional job, I don't think it would be possible to put the amount of time in that I have done over the past couple of years. So I'm quite fortunate with regards to the support of a lot of my family and parents, and also the job that I do, which is going as freelancing for an F1 website. So yeah, I think in that regard, my circumstances are fortunate, but I love what I do. I'm very passionate about league racing, the people involved, and I thoroughly enjoy it. So obviously, this will not last forever. Eventually, I'll be working full-time, maybe in London. And yeah, obviously, eventually, I'll have to give this up. But for now, you've got to enjoy the moment and just put everything you can into it. And hopefully, it's a success for everyone. I think, obviously, the views we've got tonight, the amount of drivers signing up and so on and so forth, shows that the work is really paying off. And hopefully, we can continue this upward trend, Aaron.
Right, well, we have already 150 people watching this stream, so thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedules, especially in these COVID-19 times, to watch all this event. So we're going to get underway here with the first grid, and this was obviously revealed already a few days ago, so we're not going to talk about it too much because we know everyone is very keen to look at the equal performance tiers. But let's get underway here then with PSGL Formula Performance, a league which is quite close to a lot of the drivers out there's heart. Some of them have pretty much only do performance league. So for anyone who doesn't know, a Formula Performance is a league which isn't equal cars. It's all based on the in-game performance of the cars. So the faster drivers are usually allocated in the slowest cars, and the slower drivers are allocated the fastest car, and vice versa. And you usually get some very interesting chaotic racing, and that takes place on Tuesday nights. So unlike the rest of the tiers we're doing tonight, I'm going to put the grid on the screen straight away, and we're just briefly going to talk about it. So Connor, your initial impressions of the FP grid for season 26. Some really famous names there, plenty of champions from other tiers, but also an FP itself.
Yeah, I think it's been a well-constructed grid, maybe not very inclusive, I'd say. A lot of established names. Maybe it's a bit of a Formula experience on steroid. Obviously, we've got the reigning FP champion, the reigning F2 champion, BigC in there. Also, AMS is there, Ash Bears, former champions of the FP League. So, yeah, it's a really great grid. A lot of experienced guys and hopefully some good racing are in.
Yeah, one name that really sticks out for me is Ugi Azim. It's great to see the inclusivity, BigC, of, people from different cultures, different countries. Ugi Azim, he races in Pakistan at 2-3 a.m. in the morning. That probably is shown in his performances when he crashes out half the time. But he's a brilliant guy, and it's brilliant to see him back in league racing, BigC. But it must be said that when does it end for people like Ugi Azim who've continued to race over the past decade?
Yeah, well, as long as your heart's in it, play ball, I guess. Just continue to enjoy your league racing. Also, quickly on FP, as we quickly move on to F11 here, and there was a bit of a couple of collisions between the two league admins, AMS and Greeny LFC. I don't know if you've seen the incidents, you probably haven't, but what do you make of league admins coming to blows? You've got to set the example when you're the admin or director, don't you?
I think it's good, BigC. Anything's good, for drama, something that gets the league on the map, gets people talking, a bit of controversy, sometimes you need a bit of that. You get it all the time, as a West Ham supporter, there's always kicking off. So, if I had to choose what league I wanted to be in PSGL, I'd go for PSGL FP, BigC.
Yeah, so I think that's enough about FP, Mark. A great grid.
JP Greenwood, you need to talk about him because he was offered a reserve seat in PSGL FP, and I believe that he declined it. He threw it back in your face. Do you want to speak a bit more about that?
Well, yeah, I think we need a driver like JP on the grid. We've got people like Duo, Finn, perhaps, who are not really making the most of their Mercedes. At least we've got Mark on the grid who hopefully can, really enjoy a strong car. But, JP Greenwood knows how to get the job done here, and he knows that Mercedes team better than anyone else. So I'm really flabbergasted that JP didn't get a seat in that black Mercedes, but it is what it is. And I do believe AMS and Greeny to put this FP grid together. So it's down to them. It's their baby.
Yes, and before we move on to F11 to get the equal grid reveal underway, Lordy MK will be your commentator for Tuesday nights. So that's all kicking off next week. But let's get underway with the equal league reveal for PSGL. And first up, it is F11, which is the highest, or should I say, highest tier number in PSGL history, one would say. A very useful key on the keyboard as well. So Connor and Iran, take it away with the individual names, and then, of course, once they've all done, I will reveal the full grid on the screen.
Yep, so here we have PSGL F11, and it will take place Thursdays at 7 p.m. BST. So the league admin, once again, will be Matt Romano, C-Type Steeman. Alongside him will be Abmo, Duo Finn, Crack 93697, Brandon 45667, Silver Eagle, Carter Boy, Steve C 1991 LFC, PSC Kelvin, and Louise Brother. That's BDG Louis. Mini Jungus, BRJT Infinite 06. So that's the first 10 names of F11.
Yeah, and who else have we got? We've got CPI Black Phoenix. We've got Mileham, and we have got someone called I Will Hit You Soon. And we've also got X-Hurst, Dion Canal, and obviously the man himself, the voice of PSGL, it's ItsAlimonda. And we've got Dino, the PSGL FP legend, Vapor Goated Tack, and Ozone Einstein, BigC.
Yeah, there we have the F7 grid. And I have to say, it's I think it's quite a close grid this season. Obviously, we've got a lot more sign-ups, meaning we've got a lot more variation in ability. So I think it's going to leave the likes of Abmo, C-Type, Steam, and Juho a chance of really getting some strong positions, maybe with some podiums or maybe even a race win with C Tyson. I think that he's a dark horse here. I've got to say, if he starts qualifying, I think Matt can really have a good season.
Honestly, BigC, I'm looking at the names on that list, and I just don't know what to expect. It looks like it could be carnage, honestly. But you have got some established drivers, as you've said. You've got C-Type Demon, you've got Crack 93697. Now, BigC, correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't that Omar Hakim?
Is it?
Is it Omar Hakim, BigC?
Is it? I don't know. I mean, is it really?
I'm pretty sure that PSN, BigC, is Omar Hakim. Now, for people who don't know who Omar Hakim is, he's Red Neville, and he won the PSGL F1 Championship back in Season 5 in the early days. That was back on the F1 2012 game. So you've actually got a site legend there, BigC.
Well, I think that's great to see. They've got some great experience, and hopefully maybe obviously a few younger drivers, which is Louis' brother, the three-time F1 champion. Louis, his brother, is racing at some point when he recovers from his surgery, so get well soon to him. And and in terms of the commentary team for F11, we've got the reliable, the great, the Mong brand is what they call themselves. So Praga and Zexa Sondre will be doing F11. So thanks to those guys, and I think that's F11 done and dusted.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to them commentating on my league and watching all the spins I'll be doing during the course of the season. But let's move on to the second of the equal performance midweek leagues, which will also take place on Thursdays, and that is, of course, F10. So take it away for F10 league placements for season 26.
So here we have F10, which will be taken on Thursdays at 8 p.m. So here we have RRL Neon as a league admin, and we have Dougie Aframan, Dumlios, Sabetti, Delta F1, RL Vettel, Stiggy, Protus 357, V8 Field, and Rai Sika 9, Aaron.
Yeah, and we've also got Mamadou, Lord Dalam, Yigamau, Harold Ineas, Alonso, Davey W, Poggle, Gravity, the old legend onto the podium, once voted admin of the year, and Sticky Bomb 04, and we've also got a reserve in JML Olemenko.
Yeah, so the F10 grid there, and interesting to see onto the podium. He's made his PSGL return, and he's placed himself in F10 when he's been used to racing in F3. How different would it be from racing, let's say, in a better league like F3 to racing, let's say, in a lower league like F10? Because you did that switch, didn't you? You went from F2 and F1 to F4. So, what's that switch like?
Honestly, sometimes you wish you never make that switch. You end up in a cesspit. It could be an absolute cesspit in that league. I mean, just looking at the state of some of those PSNs, BigC, Mamadou, Lord Alam, Yuga Mao, you just don't know what to expect from these people. And often, sometimes I judge people on their PSNs. If they've got dodgy PSN, I know to give them, a few extra car lengths. So he's definitely going to have to take some extra caution out there. And I don't know if it's just me, BigC, but you're making me read out the very difficult PSN, aren't you?
Well, I know you speak multiple languages, so maybe you're a bit more, you can grasp the language a little bit better in that regard, especially obviously we cater to all drivers from all countries. So Mark, any thoughts on F10 there?
Yeah, I think F10 is quite an interesting league. I think there's a mixture of sort of newcomers, but also some who, as you mentioned, used to race on Sundays. So I think that will be a really competitive league. Actually, I think we'll see quite a few different race winners on that one.
Yeah, and to conclude F10, we have our lovely league director Kryptonite commentating alongside CRG, Darkbolt, Vaporeon, whatever he calls himself, but they'll be in the commentary box on Thursdays at 8 p.m.
Right. Well, now that we've got all the midweek leagues out of the way, FP, F11, and F10, for those of you in the comments who are in those leagues, please share your thoughts on being those tiers and maybe your own predictions and where you may finish in those leagues. But now we're going to get into the juicy stuff. We're going to head over to the weekend and onto perhaps the bread and butter of PSGL, the Sunday leagues, where many legendary drivers started in the Sunday leagues before transitioning to F1 on Mondays later on. So many names have done that, but let's get started with Sundays. So we're going to start with PSGL F9. Take it away.
Go ahead.
Right, we've got HMFC as the first name on the grid. If some people remember him, he was the famous guy who launched it many years ago. We've also got Kolosenic, JP Greenwood makes his mark again on PSGL. And we've got a new face all the way from Punjab, India. We've got Dalbeer302, an old friend of mine from back in F1 2012. We've also got YNWA Matty. We've got Adrian, we've got GNG Pickle, Mr. Baboyworm, and one hand on the lifeboat for Mr. Grumpy as he clings on to yet another season of league racing. And Jamie2905, the Welshman.
Yeah, so concluding F9, we've got our second admin of Flying Throne, who makes his return, alongside Mystic, Nano Bacon 7, LR Patrick, Josh9867, Huberto Mancini, JCarty23, Keys 24, Jack Pine, and Vintinio 1108. So that's the F9 grid, and I have to say, and it's got a lot of experienced names, hasn't it? Like of JP, Mr. Grumpy, Flying Foam, even Jamie. He's a young guy, but he's been around the block.
Oh, Big C, if I was on that grid, I'd be licking my lips. You know, you got Dalbeer in there, you got JP Greenwood, Grumpy, Frome. You know, if you want a league full of community and life, you know, F9 on Sunday nights, honestly, they could be very lit.
Yes, and I mean, in terms of fighting for the championship, I think you can't look past Flying Throne. He was fighting for the F4 title last game. This game, there's a lot more grip. It's better for the wheel. Surely you expect Flying Throne to be, you know, pushing for the front, surely.
Honestly, Big C, if I can be honest with you about that man, you know, he turns up year in, year out, you know, and it stresses him out, this league race and stuff. I don't know why he continues. You know, he said he was going to quit and he wasn't going to come back. Next thing you know, he comes back. It's like a drug for him. You know, you'd expect him to do well, but, you know, with Flying Frame, he can be fast but fragile. And I don't know if age is playing a factor in that, Big C. Maybe age is catching up with him.
Yeah, maybe so. And quickly, I don't think we just touched on it, but our Sunday leagues allow all sorts of assists. They allow traction, ABS, line, and the other one I put on his gears. So you can use those assists on our Sunday leagues, while our Monday leagues are restricted. So yes, Sunday and Thursday, you're allowed assists. Monday, it's more restricted. So that's just cleared that one up. So yeah, that's F9. And unfortunately, we don't have any commentators at the minute. So if anyone wants to commentate F9, then head into my DMs afterwards, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. It would be good to get every single tier getting some commentators, and I'm sure we have plenty of time to sort that out. Now, we move away from F9 up towards F1, but we've got quite a few tiers to get through before that. But let's get ahead on Season 26, F8.
Yeah, so here we have F8. So starting off, it will be F8 will be on Sundays at 7 p.m. So we're starting off with our league admin will be IGK Sam T. So yeah, Sam T is in F8 alongside Tom AJ. Three Gloves, our site administrator, Catboy Kyle, FFS Gilo, TNR Langfell, Moriut, Best Bob, OTJ, and Agnes.
Yeah, we've also got Willows, TNR Volakongan, TFL Nadal, TNR Zexa, Arbiz, Sippy, TNR Frederick, and Big C, our old friend Callum Anderson. And we've also got Snookster and Nexus Man.
We have indeed, and obviously we've got two reserves for this league as well. This is F8, so we've got Captain Chubs and GML Panda as our two reserves for this league. For the Sunday leagues, we found that we had quite a lot of reserves because we can't really put on another league. So our Sunday leagues do have quite a few reserves. We've got Captain Chubs and GML Panda, who inevitably will get to race when people leave the league because of their placements or they're crying or something. So you'll get a chance to race very soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, some interesting names in there. I think be interested to see what Callum Anderson's thoughts in the chats are on being in F8. So will he be happy with that, or do you think he'll be a bit upset? It remains to be seen, but we will certainly keep this ball rolling along because we have another Sunday league to look at, and that is F7, which is a league I used to be in when it was on Thursday nights, but it is now a Sunday league given the sheer amount of tiers we now have. So take us through F7.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Oh, honestly, Big C, before we even go into F7, I'm absolutely licking my lips at some of the names in here. You know, this is a brilliant league. First up, you got AMS, old legend, FP legend. You got Nick Pine, the man returning from the dead. You got Powdy on there, who's a mainstay. You got TTG Callboy. You got Leon Bentley, 03. So that's the man who slipped down the divisions. You got Shoaib Zafar racing from Pakistan. You got Game Freaker, the Belgian king, and you've got Hulkenberger, a former PSGL league director. You've got Frankie, who's one of the admins, and you've got FTRL Danny.
Yeah, so concluding F7, which of course is Sundays at 8 p.m. will be Rowan 2016, TNR to be honest, TNR Steph, Vapor King, Iro, Paco YT, Larkin 4S, TB, Lars, MNC Marvin, and Tim Matz. Then for this league, unfortunately, we do have the four reserves. So we have AAC Ishida, Tomic, Patuka, and Ivanshu, with Jake Warrior kindly commentating on what is a great grid. You know, a lot of ex-F1 drivers, ex-F2 drivers, ex-podium and race winners here. And, you know, I think it's a grid that I think you'd really want to be part of if you're still racing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just the experience names you just listed there, I think they'll be pleasant to race. And I think for any driver in that league who's looking to develop in terms of their racecraft, I think that's the perfect league to really learn in on a Sunday night. And, you know, let's just talk a little bit about Jake Warrior, because that man has done a lot for PSGL, and for him to commentate over a league like that, I think that's a real privilege.
Yeah, it is. And I gave him the choice to what Sunday League and he wanted. I knew he won F7, and that's the one he's taken. I think there's some great names, some great drivers, some great personalities, the likes of Nick Pine, AMS, Leon, Hulk, and Game Freaker, to be honest. Looked very quick in the evaluation races, to be honest with them. So I was happy to group these guys together, and hopefully then they can have a good, you know, roll back the years, as it were. So yeah, a great grid. Jake Warrior commentating Sundays at 8 p.m. for F7 Mark.
Yeah, I think it's a dark horse for being the most competitive league this season. It's really hard to call a champion from those names. They've all in the past had success at various levels. So I think that's going to be a fantastic grid to watch, courtesy of Jake Warrior's broadcast. So that's something definitely to look forward to. But we now look at the top tier in Sunday League. So let's have a look at PSGL F6.
F6 here, and it's such a quality grid. Could you just take us through?
Big C, I'm just looking at the names on down. I don't know how to pronounce any of them. You got Feel HD, who's one of the admins. You got Verheinen, Diogo Golo, Legende 2904, Im Shapai, Aju 1414, APG Atomic, FRL Terror Racer, Praga X30, and IRO Dylan. Big C, take us through the rest.
Yeah, so we've got Califalk in 11th, and it's Tibson, Jerry 003, TRT James, Big Boy Joan, QVR Sneaky, FRL Finley, Cos Thomas, Schnitzel, and Panos D19. Then for F6, we do have 5 reserves, but these 5 reserves will have the opportunity to be an F5 reserve, which is on a Monday, but also it's this restricted. So these 5 drivers can speak to me if they wish to be an F5 reserve. So these 5 drivers are Adam Acko, DKT Monster Blue, LR Sirix, Ron Zeus, and Raf Vision, with ILR Neon commentating F6, which again is Sundays at 8 p.m. Yeah, Aaron, there's a lot of new faces in there. And as you said, you know, you can judge people by their PSNs, but you know some drivers on the grid, the likes of Felix, our league admin, and also Califalco, and that you know from the previous streams.
Yeah, honestly, you know, if there's one name that, you know, I really look at, it's Califalco. You know, you just don't know what to expect with names like that. You know, they could blow hot and cold, and, you know, maybe this is his year. You know, maybe this is his game where he can really push on and, you know, really get up there.
Yeah, you really can, Aaron. But I think Felix is certainly the man to beat. You know, he's a great driver, a great commentator as well. So yeah, Felix or Praga are certainly the ones to beat, Mark. And I believe we're going to be joined by Louis very shortly. I don't know if he's joined yet.
Yes, we are due to get some guests into the chat before we head to the Monday League. So let me just transition that. So we are going to be joined by 2 special guests shortly. So I haven't seen Louis join just yet, but we will give him a chance. But those of you in the comments, quite a few tiers to digest, and I don't mean just tears, actual tears in some people's cases. But you can please share us your thoughts on what you've seen so far. We're going to be moving on to the top 5 tiers all on the Mondays very shortly, including, of course, F1 itself. But I guess while we wait for Louis to join, we can get our first guest into the chat. So he is someone who's joined the community in the not too distant past, but it is none other than CRG Kryptonite. Welcome to this broadcast, and well, share your thoughts on what you've seen in terms of the infrastructure of PSGL, and you know your thoughts going into season 26. I guess would be a good place to start.
Well, thanks for the welcome. Yeah, I mean, I'm very satisfied with the work we've been putting the last months, and yeah, hopefully it's gonna be the best season yet. So looking forward to it.
And Louis, I know you're really Kryptonite. I know you're really looking forward to it. But you know, just describe the mental pressures of being a league director and doing some of Big C's dirty work. Do you want to just describe what that work looks like to the viewers? Because you know, it is quite a lot of work.
I mean, I'm basically doing the things that Big C doesn't want to do. So yeah, I have to get my hands dirty a bit sometimes, but it's not that big of a pressure, to be honest. So yeah, I'm mainly responsible for the stewarding and all things related to ruling. So yeah, it's not that much pressure, but
And just on your stewarding, Kryptonite, you know, you recently banned a driver for doing a bit of jiggery pokery, you know, during an evaluation race. I think the viewers deserve to know this. You know, it was I can't remember his name. It was Tyler Jack or something. You know, what happened?
Jack Tyler, exactly.
Yeah, what happened?
He tried to crash into somebody else. We cannot, like, no, not in PSGL, mate. What was he doing?
And obviously, Louis, a quick one from me. How is it working alongside me? Honestly.
Sometimes not really nice. But no, it's all fine. It's fine most of the time.
Lovely. And what league are you hoping to be in? Obviously, you know, but you know, what would you hope for if you didn't know? Pretend.
I was hoping to be in like between F3 and F5, I'd say. But yeah, F3 and F5 between that was my target.
Mark, anything to add?
Nah.
So, well, obviously, yeah, I'll quickly say I'd like to thank him for what he's done since joining. You know, it's been, obviously, we have 3 directors, and I'd say Krypton's been a great help. And obviously, it's nice actually having some assistance for a change from the fellow directors, Iran.
What are you trying to say? Are you trying to say that I didn't give you any help, Big C? You're trying to say that?
That's exactly what he's saying.
How dare him? I put F2 on the map, Big C. I did the dirty work in that league. I promoted some of the talent, you know, such as Odems, Francis, Toby. You know what? You can't be disgracing me on stream, Big C. There's 188 viewers. You know, some respect.
Yeah, well, we can talk about it later, Ian, I guess, or when the PSGL book comes out, you know, all the details.
Well, that book would definitely be a must-read. It'll soon be available via Kindle on Amazon, I'm sure, within a few years. But Kryptonite, we will hear more from him shortly. But now we're going to move on to another 3 tiers, so the big reveal of the top 2 tiers to come. So, hope you got your popcorn ready, because we are now heading to the business end of this grid reveal, the Monday Night Leagues. Let's get cracking with PSGL F5.
So we have PSGL F5 Mondays at 7 p.m. BST. So yeah, we'll have 5 leagues on Monday. So starting off with the first 10 names of F5, it will be line only. So racing line, the only sits allowed for F2, F3, F4, and F5. So the first name is RT Matti, then it's Gloss 58, FGA, Joda, Gavin Tesoro, Puma, Fern Ray 2004, Rasaka, APG TTP Courts, F1 Legend 44, and Matt Tibos.
And we've also got Little Romanino. We've got Hiddy 23. We've got ART Ivan, Hyped Shoals 11, LR Ghosts, It's Always Chaos, Lewis 11004, GFO Lek 16GR, Bjorn S75, and Mil Kulitsi.
And the 2 reserves will be William Steve and It's Scissor Mix. So yes, a lot of new names, a lot of difficult names to talk about there, Aaron, but obviously some familiar names, I guess, like Matt Tabos racing F3 before, Little Romanino, the young Welshman, very quick on his day, but quite fresh. And also Lewis 104, he's racing F2. So
rubbish. No. Sorry. I remember that Lewis guy from F2. He was causing incidents left, right, and centre. Big C. If I'm completely honest, and Mark, F5 is going to be one of the busiest leagues for the steward's office. You've got a lot of drivers who want to, lay down their marker. That is going to be one tough league to control, and hopefully, the admins can, push that league on and ensure that the driving standards will be up there. But PSGL have had good driving standards recently, so hopefully that won't be an issue. But the feistiness Big C in that league, it could all come out the wash, honestly.
Yeah, it could all come out in the wash. And obviously, we've got no commentator for F5, but we have 3 leagues at 7 p.m. on a Monday, so it's a little bit of the graveyard shift here in F5.
Yeah, not one that I'd put my name down for.
I think
could be a league for sort of a commentator, starting their trade. Everyone's got to start somewhere, so it could be a really good opportunity for someone out there.
It should indeed. So yeah, Mark, that's F5 done. And we've got the big leagues to come now, some big names to come up.
Yes, we are entering the final 4, and it is indeed on that note that we get into PSGL F4, and we're really getting into the juicy part of this league placement show.
Yeah, indeed. So yeah, PSGL F4 once again will be Mondays at 7 p.m. BST. So the first 10 names for PSGL F4, we've got Kryptonite. Our lovely league director is going to be the admin. Alongside him will be LR Slimbo, Brett, Mark CP99, MMA Slash, LR Lyronics, ILRC Corsi, That Laggy Person, aka Lewis Balam, Dot Bolt, and B43NA.
Yeah, and we've also got Spaghetti Chips, BRT Mafias, Brandon Glover, who used to race in F2 last season, NWS Dynastics, Wesker 95, IGK Wentink, I believe that's Tim Wentink from F2 last season as well. We've got IRC Toby, BRT Julio, Scuba MUFC, and Ollie Flavel, who misses out on an F2 seat for the first time in 9 seasons, Big C.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big shock. It's a big shame for Ollie Flavel, but, I think people's time at the top does come to an end, and I'll have to place people based on the pace of training time trial and also the evaluation races. So Ollie Flavel will be plying his trade in PSGL F4, not F2, for the first time. And we have one reserve for F4. It's Jack Lacey, the former F1 champion from season 17. And we have a wonderful commentary team for F4. We've got the experienced C-Type Steamer, Matt, alongside Neon. So, yeah, Aaron, I think there's a lot of familiar names in there. So who do you expect to really come out on top?
That's a tough one. I think it comes down to who wants it more. Big C. It's like a Premier League game. Who wants it more? Who's up for the fight? And that's what these divisions are about. It's about fighters. Who wants to put their name up in lights? And it might come down to some of the newer drivers who've joined the site, Big C. Some of these old drivers, such as Ollie Flavel, might have just lost the motivation for it. They might just be looking around thinking, what's the point anymore? But you've got drivers such as Spaghetti Chips who might fancy a go. IGK Wentink, he might want to prove his worth and try and get back up the division. So you never know. You never know.
I think Tim Wentink will be the one to watch. I think he'll be a bit upset about his tier placement, but you've got to prove me wrong, prove your placement and your times wrong. I think that's what you got to do. But it's a great opportunity, and obviously you got to perform otherwise.
And Big C, very quickly, is IRC Toby Lambo? Is that
no.
Lambo?
No, Lambo is, thankfully, he's a hard-working man and he doesn't have time for league racing anymore. So, yeah, Lambo is actually retired still. So, that's F4.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll see Lambo return to the fray one day. But yes, as you mentioned, Connor, we're now really getting towards the end here. F3 for PSGL. Let's hear the grid.
So, PSGL F3 will be Mondays at 8 p.m. BST, and thankfully, thanks to our partners, Brutal Democracy, the winner will receive £20 of gift card or PayPal let's say, money of their choice, depending on their age and obviously circumstances. So yeah, PSA F3 one is at 8, £20 for the champion. So start off for the first 10. It'll be Cherry 2 Pie and Bugatti, the reigning F2 champion, as the 2 league admins. Joining UK Lars, PR1 Will, NSX Fruitful, Dezo F1, Black Phoenix 1367, ETG Toxic, Pit Matt, and 1000 Zach.
And we've also got LR Hikes, Eclipse 18, VRT Loney 27, FRL Ginger, Cowspur 2001. I really hope he's not a Spurs fan. We've got It's Cohen, FRL Geordie, R70 Super Mario, MES Koala, and we've also got NWS Caden Forms, still West Ham fan himself, Big C.
And we've got one reserve in Enozia Cyril. So that is the F3 grid, and it's a very competitive grid. There's a lot of drivers in there, such as Caden, Will, Lars, Bugatti, Dezo, Black Phoenix. All should be in F2, really, but there just wasn't enough space for them. And let's touch upon Caden Forbes, Aaron. He scored 6 points in F1. He's came onto this game. The pad doesn't seem as strong, and his pace just isn't there. He talks the talk, but he couldn't walk the walk. A bit like David Moyes here in saying, winning is what he does.
Yeah, but winning is what David Moyes does. You know, he's done it all his career, Big C. David Moyes isn't a liar. And, you know, I think you need to show respect to some of these drivers, you know, particularly West Ham fans such as, you know, Mr. Forbes, you know. I think he'll probably be a bit disappointed to miss out on F2, but, you know, there's always next season. I think Bugatti should be quite disappointed because I thought he was going to be heading back up to F1, but, you know, he's dropped down. So it just shows the depth of quality and talent that you're getting in PSGL this time around.
Yeah, it's an exciting grid. Obviously, we've got 2 experienced guys running the league in terms of Cherry 2 Pie and Bugatti, but there's so much talent, so much F2, even the cusp of F1 with some drivers potentially on their day. So I think that's just like mark how good PSGL is nowadays when we've got those sorts of drivers in F3.
Yeah. But Connor and Iran, I mean, which of those drivers do you think could potentially, over the course of season 26, put themselves in line for a jump to, you know, the ferociously competitive top 2 tiers, which will be revealed shortly?
I think there's a lot of talent. Like I say, on their day, the likes of Caden and Dezo on their day have shown that they can be in the top 2 tiers. But over the course of the season, they just seem to get involved in incidents or cause drama in group chats and rather play around on Twitter. They're rather focusing on that than their racing. So certainly in terms of their pace and in terms of their ceiling of reaching a certain level, I think Caden and Dezo are the ones to watch. But over the course of the season, I think if Bugatti gets up to speed, his experience in class in F2 and F3 in previous F2 and FP rather in previous seasons, he came to the fore and he outperformed everyone. He was one of the best drivers on the site without doubt in terms of getting results. His pace wasn't there, but results-wise, he beat Jordan, Black Phoenix, these types of guys. So he can do it. In terms of, let's say, more of an unknown name, or maybe Eclipse, showing great pace in the Austria Social, and he was a bit under pressure in the evaluation race with talk of F1 and F2 from his mates. So I think Eclipse could be a bit of a dark horse, but like I say, there's a lot of names there and anything can happen.
I agree with Big C completely, especially on Bugatti. I think the class of driver he is, from what I saw, you know, he's definitely up there, but it is going to be tightly contested and it will go right down to the wire.
Well, and just quickly to conclude F3, Mark, as I say, it's going to be £20 for the champion, and also the commentators are going to be VRT Luke and IGK Sam T. So a really strong commentary team there, and it should be a great night of racing in F3.
Yeah, I think so. Well, to those of you in the chat, are you ready to find out who the drivers are in the top 2 tiers? Well, so that it's not an anticlimax, we're going to actually reveal the top tier first, because obviously if we reveal the F2 first, we will know exactly who's in F1. So we're going to do it slightly differently today. So let's just take time to build up the hype for the F1 reveal. And here we are then for PSGL F1 reveal, and this is always a huge moment before each season where we find out who the very best drivers will be, and I tell you, this is going to be one competitive grid, as I'm sure you will agree. Big C and Irun, take it away.
PSGL champion of the world is none other than BDG Louis. So yeah, Louis is in the top tier. And
Wow. And joining him in the top tier, we've got Casper24F1, who finished P2 in the championship back in season 25, a pro draft contender, Big C.
So number 3, it's the Scottish GOAT, the CRG driver. It's CRG Sparks, widely tipped to challenge for the title this season. So CRG Sparks is our 3rd name in PSGL F1.
And joining Sparks is VSR Onyx. He's got the pace to challenge for the title, but in previous season, he tends to bottle.
People are complaining about no sound.
No, it's
Oh,
good.
no.
It's good. Just a little blip. Carry on.
Okay, so number 5. Number 5, it's the title favourite, S2V Danny MG.
Wow. And we've got VSR Vaster Racer joining him, and he has definitely got the pace to challenge for the title, but might need to work on his racecraft a little.
So number 7 in the PSGL F1 League is another CRG driver. It's the 2-time PSGL F1 champion, CRG Blizzard. So Blizzard is back looking to add another crown.
Unbelievable. And joining Blizzard, we've got IGK Guil, 2 podiums in the PSGL Esports Cup, king of a Contra Strat, Big C.
Yeah, he is indeed. He loves that reverse strategy outside of the top 10. Number 9, it's CRG's latest signing, none other than the setup guru himself, CRG Liam Yo.
And joining Liam, we've got BDG Jordan, who finished 4th in PSGL F2 and one of the most improved since season 25.
Number 11, it's another VRC driver. It's VRC Prenens. So VRC Prenens makes his PSGL debut in the top tier.
Unbelievable, Big C. And joining him is IGK Juiced. So that could look quite juicy for that man in F1.
Okay, number 13, yet another CRG talent. It's none other than Tactician, and he's a proven top-tier driver racing the best and biggest of leagues. So I think an experienced head and a man who can be regularly in the top 10. So yeah, that's Tactician at 13.
Big C, can you announce the next one?
Yeah, it's a bit of a difficult one, but it's a new driver to PSGL, a bit of an unknown name. Some dubbed him as a time trial merchant perhaps, but he proved his pace, he proved his quality. The German is F1RI Nuremberg, aka VRT Noel. So welcome Noel, or VRT Christmas as he actually wants to be known as now. So obviously a big fan of that time of the year, and welcome to Nuremberg to PSGL F1. I look forward to seeing what he can do and whether he can convert his time trial pace into big results here.
Christmas definitely has come early for him. We've also got in number 15, we've got VSR Fishman, Big C. And joining Fishman in number 16, it's NWS Walters. I don't know if you want to say anything about that guy.
I mean, he was one of the surprises of the evaluation races. NWS, a bit of an unknown team, and he didn't really do that much in the PSGL Esports Cup, but he's shown some great pace and he's very deserving of his spot. So that's the first 16. And we're moving on to number 17, and it is Table Clan. So Table Clan beat Blizzard in the evaluation race. One of the surprises. He was in F3 last game, and now he's in F1. Is he going to be this year's Sparks here? And that could be the question. Could he be the new star of PSGL, like Sparks has been?
Time will tell, Big C. Number 18, we've got BDG V Fabi. Big C, one of your own.
Good to have one of my own in there alongside Jordan and Louis. I think Fabi, not quite as competitive as he was on 2019, but he had the pace and he had the consistency over a race stint So yeah, Fabi, similar age to me, so it's good to have an older driver, I guess, among the younger talent. So yeah, Fabi number 18, and number 19, another surprise from the evaluation races is none other than TTG Recon 33. Like I say, one of the biggest surprises of the evaluation races. Stunning drive. He had a bit of an incident, but his race pace, his management, his quality, that was fantastic. So yeah, TTG Recon 33 is the 19th driver and the 20th driver. I'll let you say this one.
Oh, it's hot in your mouth stuff. One more seat left on the PSGL F1 grid, and it goes to the season 19 PSGL F1 champion, Ash Best. So Ash Best has made his return, Big C.
Ash Best is back, and I think Ash Best may be fortunate the likes of Lee Finley and Paris and Sven didn't end up signing up, but Ash Best is back, and it's good to have, like, he's a PSGL legend like us two here, and he just lives and breathes PSGL. He's just a great guy, and to be honest, on this game, he certainly warrants a spot in PSGL F1. So yeah, Ash Best concludes the initial 20 drivers with 2 reserves. So in terms of the reserves, I just went for 2 guys who've shown good pace. I think the first guy showed a great pace, was unfortunate to miss out on the seat, while the second guy, I know he's got the pace, he's got the talent, but his evaluation race was quite mediocre. So the first reserve will be Cometa Samuel Bean, and the second reserve will be VRT Aero for F1. So they're the 2 reserves for F1 with the 20 drivers as well. So it's just an amazing grid here, and the greatest grid in PSGL history, without a doubt, for sure. You know, it's just a stunning grid, isn't it?
It's unbelievable, Big C. The amount of talent that you've got on there, you know, you just don't know who's going to, you know, win, who's going to come out on top. When you've got so much talent that's going to be, you know, quite close to each other in pace, Big C, it can really set up for an exciting season.
It does indeed. And we've got the commentators will be Owen Wyatt maintaining his spot somehow. Some will ask, how's Owen Wyatt retaining his spot? But Owen Wyatt, he's there every week. He's consistent. He gets the job done. He's moan a bit. He's a bit sassy, but we all love Owen, really. And he's alongside the ever professional, the great guy, Badger Man. So we've got Owen and Austin commentating, as I say, with a prize pool of £200 for the PS7 League, with £120 going to the winner, Mark. You know, just a great grid. And, you know, it's just going to be a great spectacle, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you know, the commentary team, they have proven themselves time and time again, not just here, but in other reputable leagues. So they're well deserving of their spot. You know, Owen can be controversial at times, and Badgerman, well, we all know he loves a bit of Joe Biden, as we see on his Twitter regularly. But just before we move on to F2, let's have a quick look at the calendar, just a quick reminder, because I think it's a very nice calendar to start us off on F1 2019, F1 2020, I should say. So we're going to be starting with Formula Performance on the 4th of August next week in Austria. So as you can see, the first half of the season, very much a Euro-centric vibe to it. So we will head through some of the better tracks in Europe before ending in Italy. So for someone such as me, a Ferrari wouldn't be nice there, but unlikely with my pace. And then the second half of the season, we'll be heading to a whistle-stop tour of the Far East before a triple header in the Americas from Canada to Brazil, which I think Big C and Irun's a very nice title decider potentially for Brazil, as we have seen several times in the real-life sport.
Oh, it's brilliant, honestly. It's just a brilliant racing circuit. Just to our viewers who are watching at the moment, make sure to hit that subscribe button to catch all the action. But on your point, Mark, it couldn't be a better season finale. Brazil's just brilliant.
I couldn't agree anymore. And speaking of title contenders and people hopefully taking the battle to the final race, Mark, we are joined by, in my opinion, the 2 best drivers on the PS4 at the minute. It's, of course, S2V Danny and CLG Sparks, Mark. So they're in the chat and ready to talk to us.
Excellent. Well, if they can just unmute themselves, they will be heard. But yes, all audio coming through loud and clear. So, well, Danny MG, I have spoken to you quite a number of times in the past in other reputable leagues, and you have joined the fray in PS2 F1, hoping in some ways to emulate the achievements of Jana Upmer in the previous season. So Danny MG, your feelings on being in PSGL F1, and how do you think you're going to do, honestly? But in terms of your raw pace, you have looked red hot in the evaluation races, at least.
Well, I think it's great that I am in PSGL F1. I think it's a great chance to keep showing to everyone what I can do. I think this is the most competitive grid there is right now in PS4. So obviously it's going to be really tough. And yeah, also it's going to be tough for me. It's a new thing because I'm going to race in PC and also I will have to go back to PS4 to race here. So, yeah, it will be interesting.
Excellent. Well, Iran, as someone who's won 3 PSGL F1 championships, of course, do you have any words of wisdom to give to young Danny MG?
Not really got any words of wisdom. I'm sure he's got it all in his tool belt. But Danny, what are your expectations and what are you looking to achieve in PSGL F1?
Well, obviously, I'm looking forward to try and win the title, and also looking forward to keep improving myself. I know racing against the best will always make me improve even more. So the likes of Casper, Louis, Sparks, Buster Racer, I think what we do is we keep pushing each other to the limits, and yeah, looking forward to improving.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just want to say, Danny, thank you for choosing PSGL. Obviously, there are some other, let's say, other leagues on the PS4 but you could have gone to with maybe a bit more better reputation, but thanks for choosing us, and hopefully you have a great season.
Thank you.
Right, and we're also joined here by perhaps arguably the standout breakout star of the F1 29 era, and that is CRG Sparks, who really shook the F1 grid up with some of his performances in the past couple of seasons on PSGL. So Sparks, a brand new game, and you look like you're even quicker than you were on F1 2019, so surely expectations for yourself personally must be high to have maybe a crack at the title.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me here, first of all. But yeah, of course, expectations have always been high. I've always been aiming for the title, the wins, podiums nearly every race. But yeah, with Danny, I'm sure it's never going to be easy. We've all seen how quick Danny is. And yeah, I don't think he'll make it any easier for any of us, never mind just myself. But of course, I'll be going for that title. It'll be hard, but a couple of wins under my belt from past seasons. I feel like I've got the experience, the pace, and yeah, I'm ready.
So Connor, any 7-time champion, of course. But in your experience, winning the first title is always the most difficult. So Sparks is clearly going to be trying to aim for that. He's going to have some serious competition in his way to do that. But what's the mindset that is required to, especially when you're in the top tier, to win that first championship? What are the little differences that are required? And then it's not just raw speed; it's a lot of it's mental as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I did think of a question about to Sparks earlier, but yeah, it's all about mental and just treating everyone as your opponent. So I know Sparks is good friends with Danny, and it's quite clear that Danny maybe has the edge in terms of pace and experience. But when there's a chance to overtake Danny, or when there's a chance to push him off the track or be a dick to him, you got to take it. You can't just be, Danny's going into the season accepting, Danny's a little bit faster than me. I'm good friends with Danny. I look him in the chat. No, you got to be ruthless. You got to overtake him. If there's a chance for a win of the title, you got to go for it. And if Sparks wants to be champion, that's what he got to do. I know we get someone with Danny, you can have respect. I mean, he had a lot of respect, but when the title's on the line, when there's wins on the line, you got to be ruthless. And that's what I'd say to him. That's what I want to see. And Wilson, I don't know if Wilson's got a reply to that, but that's my advice. If Wilson wants to be the title, if he wants to finish second or third, sit behind and, be all nice. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, really enjoyed. You could just tell from Connor's voice there, just a little insight on some of that aggression and some of that willpower that won him those 7 championships. So that was really nice to hear, actually. And I think Sparks will certainly take some of those words on board and put into his race card, but hopefully not too much. We want to keep it fair.
Mark, I've got something to say to him. Sparks, hello. I've heard a lot about you recently, from some other drivers in the F1 league, that people have been commenting on your ego and about being big-headed. What I'd say to you about that is, don't take any notice of them. Increase your ego. Be a bit more big-headed. Really grind people's gears when you're out there on track. That's what you need to do. If you can't win the battle on the track, you can certainly win it off the track and get into people's heads. I don't know if you've got any comments about people, saying stuff about your ego and being big-headed. But, if you've got a reply, this is the perfect time to do it with 125 viewers on stream.
Yeah, well, I've seen a lot of people speaking about that, but I'm backed up. I've got 4 wins in the top tier to my name. I race in the top tier in other leagues. I've proved everyone wrong. I've done everything I've said I'm going to do. So I feel like I have the right to have an ego. I'm quicker than most of them out there. They're all just kind of sitting in F2, back of F1, and they can chat how they want, but none of them prove it in track. And it's I take it to pride, my ego. I don't care. They can do what they want, but I do it all in track. So That's all I have to say.
Love it.
And quickly, Wilson, just before we let you go and we move on to F2, obviously you're good friends with Caden Forbes, who's been placed in F3. You got any comments about that, or let's say reaction, I guess?
It was a bit of a shock at first, I have to say, but I'd say it was more of a laughable shock. But I'm sure he can do well if he keeps his head cool and doesn't chat too much. If he just focuses on the driving and doesn't focus on the talking, to say the least. But yeah, he's got it in him, but he just kind of needs to head down, stop talking, and start driving.
There we have it. The man who can challenge Danny for the title, maybe the only man who can, Mark, in my opinion.
Yes, in some ways I do agree with that, but given that you've got the likes of Blizzard, Ash Best, and particularly Lewis, who is, you could probably argue Lewis is probably the greatest pad player in PSGL history, given some of his previous success. So, I think Sparks and Danny, they'll have a lot of drivers behind them taking advantage of any mistakes they will make. So we've revealed pretty much all of the equal performance grids, but we have one left to do, and that is, of course, PSGL F2. And they may not have had quite the evaluation time trial performance to get into F1, but this is still, nonetheless, a damn good grid. So BigC Irun, take us through the final grid reveal of the evening.
So it'll be, Mondays at 7 p.m. and it'll be a £30 prize for the champion. So our two league admins once again will be CC Brain and Greeny LFC. Moving on to third place here, and it's going to be N Rafa. So N Rafa, the German from F1, moves down to F2.
Wow. And joining Rafa Big C, you got Toxic Tomato 55389. And joining him, Big C, you've got Gonanen. And position number 6 goes to our old mate, Lickle Blocks.
Yeah, so concluding the top 10, we've got the Confessor, aka Odem. So Odem's just certainly going to add a lot of spice, a lot of heat to the F2 grid with the likes of Rafa and Toxic Tomato. We've got V Massina. Number 9's will be Midnight JL13, the BDG driver who was in F1 last season. Then we've got RL Curax here, and Curax, a man that you really enjoyed commentating on in F2.
I did. I just don't have a clue how he's made it on this grid, but fair play to him. And what a man. Joining Curax, we've got Lakitu886. Big C, we've also got BRT Faz. And joining Faz, we've got Pat X.
Yeah, so the next few names for F2, we've got Skeven, Pablo Joglar, NWS Hadler, F1R Benny SKM, Irun. So that's 17 down, 3 to go.
Do you want me to do all 3?
Yeah, I mean, you should.
Drum roll, please.
So we have got VRT Luke, the number 18. Number 19, we've got Josh M, 97. And number 20, guys, this is the biggest shock of the day. In number 20 on the PSGL F2 grid, it is the one and only PSGL F1 7-time champion, BigC 019. So BigC 019 takes the final seat in PSGL F2 as he returns to league racing in his home. BigC, you're on the grid.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm a fool, but honestly, playing the game has been really enjoyable. I've enjoyed the evaluation races. I've enjoyed the race department race. And honestly, F2 was quite appealing to me. I'm friends with CC and Greeny. I get on obviously with Toxic Tomato, Rafa, Odem's Midnight. So the grid is very appealing. And honestly, I guess the thing what I thought was when I was thinking about doing F2 is like, obviously, I've got the time on my hands, so I might as well make the most of it because one day I won't have the time. So yeah, I guess I spoke to a lot of people and they gave me the sign to do so. My pace does seem quite competitive, but then again, everyone in F2 is going to move within a couple of tenths. So it's about performing, but hopefully I can enjoy it. If I finish first, finish 12th, 17th, whatever, I'm here for good fun. You can't change the history, but at least you can, change the future. So that's what I hope to do and hopefully have some good fun and some good races. So yeah, I'm excited. Some tracks I'll be quick, some tracks I'll be awful, like Hanoi and Zandvoort, but yeah. I'm here for a good time and hopefully, I can get a couple of good results on the board.
Yes, I mean, looking at that grid, I think it's fair to say there could be a few Twitter spats there and about. So, the Confessor, Odem's very entertaining on Twitter with some of his witty posts, so that'll be really good to see. But just a brief mention on the commentator for PSGL F2. It is the very talented Jess Gamer who will be taking through all the action. One of the few
Wow.
OBS commentators on PSGL at the moment. Hopefully, we're going to get some more in the not too distant future. But she will have a very unique broadcast style, so that'll be well worth tuning in at 7 o'clock on Mondays. So that's all that to look forward to. Well, that is it. That is all the tiers done then.
Just
Big
quickly,
C.
Mark, we got two F2 reserves actually.
Ooh,
KJ
yes.
Eltink
I do
and
apologise.
correct TJ. So yeah, we got those guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
KJ Eltink 7 and correct. So they'll be vying to get any opportunity to get onto the grid. Apologies for steamrolling them before BC. I always forget about the reserves sometimes, because reserves are very important components of any reputable league race site. So in terms of the grids we've seen tonight, Colin, Aaron, perhaps not in terms of pure pace, but in terms of depth, which grids particularly stand out for you?
I think there's a lot of quality. Like I said, I think the F2 grid especially, I think everyone's been within their 10th or 2, but also I think it's F7 with the experience, the guys like sort of AMS, Empire, Powdy, those sorts of guys. I think Aaron probably agree F7 is a really juicy, enjoyable grid to look at, and obviously hopefully we get to see them in action very soon.
I think people really enjoy F7. That is one of the pick of the bunches. But honestly, apart from F1, which is obviously the standout tier, F2 is a very juicy league. You've got a mix of experience, talent, and new drivers, and that could be a really good league to really get stuck into. And I think Jess Games is going to have a brilliant time on commentary on Monday nights. Obviously, they'll be playing for £30 in PSGL F2. Maybe that's why Big C's returned for the prize money. But it is just brilliant to see. And Mark, you've been known as, I know I'm going off on a tangent, but you've been known as the voice of PSGL. You really helped put PSGL on the map with your commentary and some of your work. Just looking down the grid and the commentators, who would you say are your favourite PSGL commentators at the moment?
Well, I mean, we have probably the best set top to bottom of commentators PSGL's ever had. I mean, it's sad for me personally that I don't have the time to do it anymore. But I'm enjoying sort of the video content side of things outside of PSGL, and also in particular for tonight's broadcast of PSGL. But yeah, the likes, I do enjoy. Owen has a very different style to me for Monday nights. I think that's fair to say, but I enjoy. It's always very entertaining his way of doing it, and I think Badgerman's a very good foil for him. I think they work off each other pretty well. Chemistry between a co-commentator and the lead is very important. If you don't have that chemistry, it can be a bit chaotic. When you work together long enough, as I have with some in the past, it just becomes a natural thing. But, Jake Warrior in F7, I think very perfect choice for that experienced grids. And, Jess Gamer's been doing this for a long time, so she'll have a great voice for F2. But, some of the less experienced commentators, like Lordy for, one of the Thursday leagues, and FP, he'll certainly be a good voice. But, the great thing about PSGL is, I think, in terms of commentary, I think PSGL's always been perhaps the best league community to start that sort of side of it in, because F1 2016, anyone who was commentating back then, you had to quit out of the formation lap and you didn't have any sort of on-screen information. So the information available for the commentators is so much superior now than it was. So the key element is to any of those, especially the less experienced ones, just be enthusiastic. If you're enthusiastic, then you've already done half the job really well. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't care about what you're broadcasting on, then it's not really worth doing it.
I couldn't agree more. Obviously, commentary role, you do put a lot of time in. I always find after commentary, I was more tired than I was than racing, to be honest. You put a lot of energy and you put a lot of effort into it. And obviously, it's unpaid, it's a voluntary role. And obviously, we greatly appreciate all the commentators. And hopefully, you move on to better things in commentary, or just generally in life, you learn something from it or take something from it. Also enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. But now, looking ahead to season 26 as a whole, Big C, aka Mr. Connor, what sort of plans are in the hold for beyond season 26? Is there any sort of juicy tidbits you can give us for the viewing public, those who are still in the stream, which is a really good number, to be fair. So they're obviously interested to hear from the man himself.
Yeah, I think moving forward, I think it's just going to be more of the same. Hopefully, maybe a bigger prize pool, depending on if we can get some more companies or sponsors involved. So I think that's certainly what we look at. Certainly, I want to be looking at maybe the commentators. Maybe I know One Hub do a good job of giving them sort of something. So I think something for the commentators is something I want to push forward and give something back to those guys. But in terms of, let's say, other events, an esports type event would be great as well. But I want to do that quite right. So I think more of the same, Mark, and maybe a few events here and then. Hopefully we can give back to more of the drivers and the commentators especially.
Yes, and Aaron, in terms of your closing thoughts on this particular fair this evening, going forward in season 26, I mean, watching all the racing that's going to be going on, is there going to be any sort of temptation to get you to get behind the race wheel again?
You can never say never, Mark. Obviously, it comes down to time and commitment. Signing up to a league, you've got to make a weekly commitment to turn up, and when you're juggling the job as well, it sometimes it can take a bit out of you on the evenings. But never say never. The game's brilliant, the league's brilliant. It's in a much better place than it was 8 years ago. To see how far it's developed is just a credit to the directors, Big C's work, the work that Adam Guppy puts in behind the scenes, who's one of the site administrators, all the commentators, league admins and stewards, everyone who puts a lot of time in to make these leagues successful. So it's really great to see how far PSGL has come.
Mm-hmm. And just quickly, Mark, before we close, I just want to talk about what we're going to be doing next in terms of, let's say, the grids and all that sort of thing. Everyone will be given the correct roles in Discord, and from then on, it'll be the admin's responsibility to go through the car and teammate selection process. So we have a structure in place to determine teammates and cars. And obviously, there'll be pre-season races in the coming days and weeks. And I think a final thought from me, I'm seeing some messages, people crying about their placements. Like, shut up. We've put a lot of time and effort into them. If you didn't perform in TT or in evaluation races, it's your own fault, really. I've done my best given the data provided, and obviously it's not be perfect. Maybe you could be an F2 or F3 or F1 F2. That's just how the cookie crumbled. Get on with it or get out, and you'll be banned until the end of next season. So it's up to you. Message me about it. Don't cry to me about it.
What I'd say to that, Big C, sorry, what I'd say to that is, if you aren't in a league that you're not happy in, don't worry. Don't worry about it. At least you're on a grid. At least you're having the opportunity to, compete in a league race. There's
Absolutely.
some drivers who didn't make the cut. There were loads of people who signed up, and I think Big C had to turn away quite a few because there just wasn't enough space, and some people didn't make it past the evaluation process. So, see it as an opportunity. See it as a way of learning your trade and fight back. Channel your anger into your driving. I don't mean driving to other people, but put your money where your mouth is, and that's what the West Ham owners should do.
Yeah, and quickly, Mark, before you can close out the stream, I just want to say thanks, obviously, to you guys for joining me. Also to my team, obviously Kryptonite, especially. Also Human Fish for the graphics he's put on stream tonight. Also to Three Gloves and Matt Romano, see guys for the Discord work, especially the bots, helping up with the sign-ups, and obviously for everyone because contributing and making PSGL a worthwhile event. It's been a record day. It's been a great day, and yeah, I don't think I have much to say. See you on the track, I guess, Mark.
Yes, I echo all of the sentiments you just said. So yes, thank you, Aaron and Big C, for reading out all of those names, even the ones which were virtually impossible to pronounce, particularly in Aaron's case. And but soon the time for talk will be over, because in just over a week's time, we will be beginning the season 26 calendar at the Red Bull Ring for Austria. So please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the action brought to you by our talented team of broadcasters. And well, the future is very bright for PSGL, and soon we will be getting underway, and it'll be lights out for season 26 of PSGL.